Imagine the business world as a vast ocean. In some parts of this ocean, the water is dark and murky. It's crowded with companies fighting for survival. They slash prices. They copy each other's strategies. They battle endlessly for the same customers. The water turns red from the blood of competition. This is what business experts call the red ocean. Now imagine a different kind of ocean. The water is clear and blue. There's plenty of space to move. No one is fighting because there are no rivals. Companies here create their own demand. They set their own rules. They grow without the constant pressure of competition. This is a blue ocean. Most businesses spend their entire existence trapped in the red ocean. They believe competition is inevitable. They believe fighting harder is the only path to success. But the most successful companies in history didn't win by fighting harder. They won by finding or creating their own blue ocean. This powerful concept comes from the groundbreaking book Blue Ocean Strategy, written by W. Chan Kim and Renee Mauborgne. If you're interested in business, entrepreneurship, or building innovative companies, this is a book you should absolutely read. In today's audiobook, you will discover the fundamental difference between red ocean and blue ocean markets, how successful companies throughout history have created entirely new industries, and how you can escape brutal competition by thinking differently about value, customers, and strategy. We'll explore real-world examples from companies like Cirque du Soleil, Nintendo, Southwest Airlines, and many others who transformed their industries. We'll examine practical tools you can use to analyze your own market and find opportunities others miss. And we'll discuss the mindset shifts necessary to become a blue ocean thinker. If you enjoy learning about business, strategy, and entrepreneurship like this video, share it with someone interested in business, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful audiobooks. Let's begin our journey into the blue ocean. Chapter 1: Understanding Red Ocean Markets. To truly understand blue ocean strategy, we must first understand the world most businesses operate in, the red ocean. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you decide to open a coffee shop. You walk down any main street in any city, and you'll see dozens of coffee shops already there. Starbucks, Dunkin', local cafes, independent roasters. They all sell coffee. They all have similar menus. They all target similar customers. They all charge similar prices. This is a red ocean. The market boundaries are clearly defined. Everyone knows what a coffee shop should be. Everyone knows who the customers are. Everyone knows what factors they compete on: price, location, speed of service, quality of coffee, atmosphere. In a red ocean, success comes from beating the competition. You try to offer a slightly better product. Perhaps your coffee is organic or ethically sourced. You try to charge a slightly lower price. You try to find a better location. You try to capture a slightly larger market share. But here's the problem. The total market isn't growing much. The number of coffee drinkers is relatively stable. The amount of coffee consumed per person isn't increasing dramatically. So you're essentially fighting over the same customers with the same offerings. This type of competition creates several predictable problems. First, it drives down profits. When every coffee shop offers basically the same thing, customers choose based on price. And when customers choose based on price, profit margins shrink. You can't charge a premium because customers can easily go next door and get something similar for less. Second, it limits innovation. When all you think about is beating your competitors, you stop thinking about what customers really want. You spend your time watching what Starbucks does and copying it. You add features they have, not because customers need them, but because competitors have them. Third, it creates a reactive mindset. You're always responding to someone else's moves. If a competitor lowers prices, you feel forced to lower yours. If a competitor adds a new drink, you feel you must add it too. You're never truly leading. You're always following. Fourth, it creates a stressful environment. Constant competition means constant pressure. You're always looking over your shoulder, always worried about what your competitors might do next, always anxious about losing market share. Think about industries you're familiar with. The airline industry is a classic red ocean. Airlines compete fiercely on price, routes, and services. They offer the same flights to the same destinations. They fight for the same business and leisure travelers. And most of them struggle to make a profit year after year. The smartphone market is another example. Hundreds of companies making similar devices with similar features. The competition is brutal. Only a handful of companies survive, and even they fight constantly for market share. The restaurant industry is perhaps the most crowded red ocean of all. Restaurants open and close at staggering rates. Most fail within the first few years, not because they have bad food or bad service, but because they're competing in an ocean already filled with similar offerings. This is the reality of red oceans. And here's the thing. Most companies accept this reality as normal. They believe competition is the way of business. They believe that fighting harder is the path to success. They spend their entire existence in the red waters, fighting, struggling, and often failing. But what if there was another way? What if you didn't have a fight? What if you could create a market where competition simply didn't exist? This is the promise of Blue Ocean Strategy. If you're enjoying this audiobook so far, take a moment to like this video. It helps more people discover these powerful ideas. Chapter 2, The Concept of Blue Ocean Strategy. Now, let's explore the alternative to the bloody red ocean. Let's dive into the concept of Blue Ocean Strategy. A blue ocean is an uncontested market space. It's an industry that doesn't exist yet. It's a space where competition is irrelevant because no one else is playing. In a blue ocean, the rules of the game haven't been written yet. You get to write them. In a blue ocean, you're not fighting for a slice of an existing pie. You're creating an entirely new pie. You're generating new demand from customers who weren't being served before. You're making the competition irrelevant because there is no competition. This sounds almost too good to be true, doesn't it? How can there be markets with no competition? Isn't competition inevitable? Chan Kim and Renee Ma Bourne spent over a decade studying hundreds of companies across 30 industries. They analyzed business launches spanning more than 100 years, and they discovered something remarkable. The businesses with the highest growth and highest profits weren't necessarily the ones with the best technology or the most resources. They weren't the ones that fought the hardest in existing markets. They were the ones that created entirely new market spaces. Consider the example of Cirque du Soleil. This is perhaps the most famous blue ocean story. When Cirque du Soleil started in the 1980s, the circus industry was dying. Traditional circuses like Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey were struggling. Children preferred video games and movies over circuses. Animal rights activists were protesting against the use of animals in circuses. The industry was in decline. The red ocean of the circus world was getting bloodier as fewer customers fought over shrinking entertainment options. Most people looking at this industry would see no opportunity. They would say the circus is dead. They would look for opportunities elsewhere. But Cirque du Soleil saw something different. They didn't try to compete in the traditional circus market. They didn't try to create a better version of Ringling Brothers. Instead, they asked a different question. What if we created something entirely new that borrowed from the circus, but also from theater and music? Cirque du Soleil eliminated everything that was problematic about traditional circuses. They eliminated animals, which were expensive and controversial. They eliminated the traditional three-ring format. They eliminated the cheap carnival atmosphere. They reduced elements that weren't essential. They reduced the emphasis on individual star performers. They reduced the focus on children's entertainment. They raised other elements. They raised the artistic quality of performances. They raised the sophistication of the music and choreography. They raised the quality of the venues and production values. And they created entirely new elements. They created a theatrical narrative that tied the acts together. They created an artistic, adult-oriented experience that felt more like Broadway than a circus. The result was something entirely new. Cirque du Soleil attracted a completely different audience. They attracted adults willing to pay premium prices for a sophisticated entertainment experience. They attracted corporate clients looking for unique event entertainment. They attracted theater goers who would never have set foot in a traditional circus. Cirque du Soleil didn't just take customers from other circuses. They created new demand. They turned theater goers into circus goers. They turned corporate event planners into customers. They turned adults who hadn't been to a circus since childhood into regular attendees. And because they created something entirely new, they had no direct competitors. No other company was offering what they offered. They had created their own blue ocean. This is blue ocean strategy in action. Not competing in existing markets, but creating new ones. Not fighting for existing customers, but creating new demand. Not accepting industry assumptions, but challenging them. If you're finding these ideas valuable, share this video with someone who loves business strategy. Chapter 3. Why competing is not always the best strategy. Most entrepreneurs, business leaders, and even business schools teach that competition is healthy. They believe that competing hard makes you stronger. They believe that beating rivals is the path to success. They believe that the best company wins. But Kim and Ma Bourne challenge this fundamental assumption. They argue that excessive competition often destroys value rather than creating it. They argue that focusing on competitors distracts you from focusing on customers. They argue that competing in crowded markets is a recipe for mediocrity. Let's think about what happens in highly competitive markets. Companies spend enormous resources trying to match or beat each other. They add features that customers don't really need, just because competitors have those features. They cut prices to unsustainable levels, destroying profit margins for everyone. They pour money into advertising wars that benefit media companies more than anyone else. In the end, everyone's profits suffer. Customers benefit in the short term from lower prices, but in the long term, innovation suffers. Companies become so focused on short-term competitive battles that they stop investing in long-term breakthroughs. They become reactive rather than proactive. Think about the airline industry again. Airlines compete so fiercely on price that many have gone bankrupt. The ones that survive often operate on razor-thin margins. Customers may get cheap flights, but they also get cramped seats, baggage fees, and poor service. Has all that competition actually made the industry better? Think about the smartphone industry. Companies compete on processor speed, camera megapixels, screen resolution. They add features that most users never need. They release new models every year, making last year's perfectly good phone obsolete. Has all that competition actually made phones better, or has it just created a cycle of unnecessary consumption? The problem with competitive strategy is that it's inherently reactive. You're always responding to what someone else did. You're watching your competitors, not your customers. You're trying to be slightly better than them, rather than being completely different. Blue Ocean Strategy offers an alternative. Instead of competing, you create. Instead of reacting, you lead. Instead of fighting for market share, you create new markets. Consider the example of Nintendo that we mentioned earlier. When Nintendo entered the gaming console market, Sony and Microsoft were locked in an intense battle. The PlayStation and Xbox were competing on graphics, processing power, and hardcore gaming experiences. They were adding more powerful processors, better graphics cards, and more complex games. The competition was intense and expensive. Nintendo could have tried to compete in this space. They could have tried to build a console with even better graphics. They could have tried to attract the same hardcore gamers. They could have fought the same battle. But instead, they asked a different question. What if we stop competing on graphics and processing power? What if we focus on something completely different? Do we focus on motion controls and family-friendly games? It attracted casual gamers, seniors, families, and people who had never bought a gaming console before. Grandmothers were playing Wii bowling. Parents were playing with their children. People who had no interest in PlayStation or Xbox were buying Wiis. Nintendo didn't beat Sony and Microsoft at their own game. They created a new game entirely. They created a blue ocean, and they made billions in the process. This is the power of blue ocean thinking. Instead of fighting in crowded waters, you find or create your own ocean. Instead of competing, you create. If this concept resonates with you, Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more business insights. Chapter 4: The Power of Value Innovation. At the very heart of Blue Ocean Strategy is a concept called value innovation. This is not just innovation for the sake of being different. This is not just cutting costs to be cheaper. Value innovation is something much more powerful. Value innovation is a simultaneous pursuit of differentiation and low cost. Traditional business strategy says you have to choose. Either you differentiate your product with premium features and charge a higher price, or you compete on cost with a basic product and charge a lower price. You can't do both. This is a fundamental trade-off that every business student learns. You can be high cost and high value, or low cost and low value. But you can't be both. Blue Ocean Strategy challenges this trade-off. Kim and Mauborn argue that the most successful companies create value innovation by pursuing differentiation and low cost simultaneously. They create products that offer unique value to customers while also reducing costs in strategic areas. Let's look at Southwest Airlines as a powerful example of value innovation. When Southwest Airlines started in the 1970s, the airline industry was dominated by major carriers offering full service at premium prices. Airlines like United, American, and Delta competed on amenities, routes, and service. They offered meals, first-class cabins, baggage transfers, and assigned seating. This was expensive, and ticket prices reflected that expense. The competition was fierce, but it was all focused on the same factors. Southwest did something completely different. They asked a simple question: what do customers actually value? Do they really care about meals on short flights? Do they really need assigned seating? Do they really use baggage transfers? They discovered that what customers truly value was low prices, frequent departures, and friendly service. Everything else was negotiable. So Southwest eliminated everything that didn't add real value. They eliminated meals, saving millions in food costs and galley space. They eliminated assigned seating, speeding up boarding times. They eliminated first class, increasing passenger capacity. They eliminated baggage transfers, reducing complexity. These eliminations dramatically reduced their costs. But they also added value in areas that mattered. They increased the frequency of flights, making it more convenient for travelers. They invested heavily in friendly, energetic customer service. They focused on on-time performance. The result was an airline that offered both low cost and high value. Southwest could charge much lower fares than traditional airlines while still being profitable. And they attracted a whole new segment of customers, people who previously couldn't afford to fly. They attracted car and bus travelers who were willing to switch to air travel for the right price. This is value innovation, not just cutting costs, not just adding features, but rethinking the entire value proposition to serve customers in a completely new way. Value innovation requires you to look at your industry with fresh eyes. You must ask, what do customers truly value? What are we spending money on that doesn't really matter to customers? Where can we reduce costs without reducing value? Where can we add value without adding cost? These questions lead to breakthrough thinking. They lead to blue oceans. If you're enjoying this audiobook, remember to like the video. It helps more people discover these powerful ideas. Chapter 5: The Strategy Canvas. One of the most practical and powerful tools from Blue Ocean Strategy is the Strategy Canvas. This is a visual tool that helps you understand where your industry competes and where you can differentiate. It makes abstract strategy concrete and visual. Let me explain how the Strategy Canvas works. Imagine a graph with two axes. On the horizontal axis, you list all the factors that your industry competes on. These are the things that companies in your space invest in and compete over. For a typical airline, these factors might include price, meals, seating comfort, customer service, route network, in-flight entertainment, baggage services, loyalty programs, and first-class offerings. For a typical circus, these factors might include price, animal acts, star performers, multiple rings, concessions, children's entertainment, and venue quality. On the vertical axis, you measure the level of offering for each factor, low, medium, or high. How much does the typical competitor invest in each factor? How much do they offer to customers? When you plot the offerings of all the major competitors in your industry, you usually see that their curves look remarkably similar. Everyone competes on the same factors at roughly the same levels. They all have similar prices, similar features, similar service levels. This is a red ocean. Everyone's swimming in the same direction, fighting for the same customers. The strategy canvas helps you see this pattern clearly. And more importantly, it helps you see where you can break away from the pack. Kim and Malborn developed a framework called a 4 Actions Framework to help companies create a new value curve. You ask 4 key questions about your industry's competitive factors. First, what factors can you eliminate that the industry takes for granted but no longer adds value? Every industry has things that everyone does but customers don't really care about. They're just accepted as the way things are done. But if customers don't value them, they're just adding costs without adding value. Southwest eliminated meals, assigned seating, and baggage transfers. Cirque du Soleil eliminated animals and star performers. What can you eliminate in your industry? Second, what factors can you reduce well below industry standards? Some factors are important, but they don't need to be done at the highest level. You can reduce investment in these areas without significantly hurting customer value. Southwest reduced airport lounge amenities and traditional advertising. Cirque du Soleil reduced the emphasis on children's entertainment. What can you reduce? Third, what factors can you raise well above industry standards? Some factors are deeply valued by customers, but the industry underinvests in them. By raising your performance in these areas, you can create significant differentiation. Southwest raised the frequency of flights and the quality of customer service. Cirque du Soleil raised the artistic quality, music, and venue experience. What can you raise? Fourth, what factors can you create that the industry has never offered? This is where true innovation happens. What completely new factors can you introduce that customers will love? Southwest created a fun, energetic company culture that became part of the brand. Cirque du Soleil created a theatrical narrative that tied the acts together. What can you create? By answering these 4 questions, you can develop a new value curve that looks completely different from your competitors. You can create a blue ocean. The strategy canvas isn't just an academic exercise. It's a practical tool you can use to analyze your industry and identify opportunities. It forces you to think systematically about where you compete and where you can differentiate. If you're building a business or thinking about entering a new market, take the time to draw your industry strategy canvas. Plot the major competitors. See where everyone is competing. Then ask the 4 questions. You might just find your blue ocean. Comment below. If you were to start a business, what industry would you choose? Chapter 6, Creating New Market Demand. One of the most exciting and powerful aspects of Blue Ocean strategy is its focus on creating new demand rather than fighting over existing customers. This is a fundamental shift in thinking. Most companies obsess over their existing customers. They study their preferences. They survey them endlessly. They try to make them happier. They try to increase their loyalty. They try to sell them more. This focus on existing customers is important, but it's also limiting. Your existing customers are already in your market. They already know what they want. They already have expectations. They already have habits. They can tell you how to improve your product, but they can't tell you how to create something completely new. Blue Ocean thinkers look beyond existing customers to what Kim and Malborn call non-customers. These are people who don't use your product or service today. They're outside your market, and they represent enormous untapped opportunity. Kim and Malborn identified 3 tiers of non-customers. Each tier represents a different level of distance from your market. First-tier non-customers are people who use your product minimally but are ready to leave. They're not satisfied with what's available, but they haven't found a better alternative. They're hovering on the edge of your market, ready to jump out. These people can tell you what's wrong with your industry. They can tell you why they're not fully satisfied. They can point you toward improvements that might keep them in the market. Second-tier non-customers are people who consciously reject your market. They've considered your product or service and decided it's not for them. They don't see how it meets their needs. They think your offering is irrelevant to their lives. These people can tell you why your industry's assumptions don't match their reality. They can show you the gaps between what you offer and what they need. Third-tier non-customers are people who have never even considered your market. They're completely unaware or uninterested. Your product or service simply doesn't exist in their world. These people represent the greatest opportunity and the greatest challenge. They can't tell you what they want because they've never thought about it. You have to observe their lives, understand their needs, and imagine how your offering could serve them. Most companies ignore all three tiers of non-customers. They focus on their existing customers and direct competitors. They fight for slightly larger shares of the same market. But blue ocean companies ask different questions. Why don't these people use our product? What would make them interested? What needs do they have that aren't being met by anyone? When Nintendo created the Wii, they weren't targeting hardcore gamers who already own PlayStations. Those were existing customers of the gaming industry. Nintendo was targeting non-customers, families, seniors, casual players, people who had never owned a gaming console. When Cirque du Soleil created their shows, they weren't targeting traditional circus goers. Those were a shrinking market. They were targeting non-customers, theater goers, corporate clients, adults who had outgrown circuses. When Southwest Airlines started, they weren't just targeting existing airline passengers. They were targeting non-customers, people who drove or took buses because they couldn't afford to fly. This is how blue oceans are created. By looking beyond the obvious market. By serving people who aren't being served. By creating demand where no demand existed before. Think about your own industry or business idea. Who are the non-customers? Why aren't they buying? What would it take to attract them? If you can answer these questions, you might find a blue ocean waiting for you. If this idea resonates with you, share this audiobook with someone building a business. Chapter 7, Breaking Industry Boundaries. One of the most powerful aspects of blue ocean strategy is how it challenges you to break the invisible boundaries that define your industry. Every industry has assumptions. This is how we do things. This is what customers expect. These are our competitors. These are the rules. These assumptions become invisible prisons. They limit your thinking. They keep you trapped in the red ocean. They prevent you from seeing opportunities that are right in front of you. Kim and Maulborn identified 6 ways companies can systematically break these boundaries and discover blue oceans. They call this the 6 Paths Framework. Path 1. Look at alternative industries. Most companies define their competition narrowly. Airlines compete with other airlines. Coffee shops compete with other coffee shops. But customers don't think this way. They're choosing between alternatives that serve the same underlying need. When someone wants entertainment, they might choose between a movie, a concert, a video game, a book, or a circus. These are all alternatives. Cirque du Soleil understood this. They weren't just competing with other circuses. They were competing with all forms of entertainment. When someone wants to travel, they might choose between air, train, car, or bus. Southwest understood this. They weren't just competing with other airlines. They were competing with cars and buses for price-sensitive travelers. By looking at alternative industries, you can see opportunities to create hybrid offerings that combine the best of different worlds. Path 2. Look at strategic groups within your industry. Most industries have strategic groups. Companies competing on price and companies competing on premium features. Luxury airlines offer premium service at high prices. Budget airlines offer basic service at low prices. Customers typically choose one or the other. Blue ocean companies ask, can we create something that appeals to both groups? Can we offer luxury-like experience at budget prices? Or budget-like simplicity with luxury touches? This is what Toyota did with Lexus. They offered luxury car quality at a price significantly below traditional luxury brands. They attracted customers from both groups. Path 3. Look at the chain of buyers. In most industries, there's a clear buyer. For consumer products, it's the end user. For B2B products, it's a business customer. But the person who pays isn't always the person who uses, and the person who uses isn't always the person who decides. There's often a chain of buyers, influencers, decision-makers, users, payers. Most companies target the same link in this chain. Blue ocean companies ask, can we target a different link? For example, Novo Nordisk, a pharmaceutical company, shifted from selling insulin to doctors to selling to patients. They created injection devices that were easier for patients to use. This opened up a new market. Path 4. Look at complementary products and services. No product exists in isolation. Every product has complements, things customers need before, during, or after using your product. Most companies ignore these complements. They focus narrowly on their own product. But blue ocean companies ask, what else do our customers need? Can we provide that? For example, movie theaters realize that customers also need childcare. Some theaters start offering babysitting services, attracting parents who couldn't otherwise come. Path 5. Look at functional versus emotional appeal. Some industries compete on function, price, performance, features. Others compete on emotion, status, image, feeling. Companies in functional industries rarely think about emotion. Companies in emotional industries rarely think about function. Blue ocean companies ask, can we flip this? Can we add emotional appeal to a functional product? Or add functional simplicity to an emotional product? Consider Swatch watches. The watch industry traditionally competed on function, accuracy, durability, features. Swatch added emotional appeal, fun, fashion, self-expression. They turned watches from timepieces into fashion accessories. Path 6. Look at trends. The world is constantly changing. Technology advances. Demographics shift. Regulations change. Lifestyles evolve. Most companies watch these trends but don't act on them until it's too late. Blue ocean companies ask, what trends are shaping the future? How can we get ahead of them? For example, Apple saw the trend toward digital music. While other companies were trying to protect CD sales, Apple created iTunes and the iPod, capturing the future. By systematically exploring these 6 paths, you can break out of your industry's boundaries and discover blue oceans that others can't see. If you're enjoying this audiobook, subscribe to the channel for more powerful insights. Chapter 8. Designing a unique business strategy. Creating a blue ocean isn't just about having a great idea. It's not enough to identify an opportunity. You have to design a complete business strategy around that opportunity. Kim and Malborn emphasize that your blue ocean strategy must be aligned across 3 critical dimensions. These 3 dimensions must work together to create a coherent, sustainable business model. First, your value proposition. Why should customers choose you? What unique value do you offer that they can't get anywhere else? This is the core of your strategy. It must be compelling, clear, and differentiated. For Cirque du Soleil, the value proposition was a sophisticated, artistic entertainment experience that combined circus, theater, and music. No one else offered that. For Southwest Airlines, the value proposition was low fares combined with friendly service and frequent departures. No one else offered that combination. Your value proposition must answer the customer's question, why should I choose you? Second, your profit proposition. How will you make money from this value? What's your cost structure? What's your pricing strategy? What's your revenue model? A great value proposition means nothing if you can't deliver it profitably. Cirque du Soleil's profit proposition came from eliminating expensive elements like animals and star performers, while charging premium prices for a unique experience. Their costs were lower than traditional circuses, but their prices were higher than traditional circuses. That's a powerful profit proposition. Southwest's profit proposition came from simplifying operations, using only one type of aircraft, flying point-to-point routes, turning planes around quickly. This reduced costs dramatically, allowing them to offer low prices while still being profitable. Your profit proposition must answer the investor's question, how will you make money? Third, your people proposition. How will you motivate employees and partners to deliver this value? What culture do you need? What incentives? What training? Your strategy depends on people executing it. Southwest People Proposition was built on hiring for attitude, training for skill, and creating a fun, family-like culture. Employees were motivated, engaged, and delivered the friendly service that was central to the value proposition. Cirque du Soleil's People Proposition was built on attracting world-class performers and giving them creative freedom. They created an environment where artists could thrive. Your People Proposition must answer the employee's question, why should I give my best to this company? These three dimensions must reinforce each other. Your profit proposition must support your value proposition. Your People Proposition must enable both. Consider IKEA as another example. IKEA's value proposition is stylish, functional furniture at affordable prices. Customers can furnish their homes beautifully without spending a fortune. IKEA's profit proposition comes from flat-pack shipping, self-service, and large volumes. By having customers assemble furniture themselves, IKEA reduces costs dramatically. By operating large warehouse stores, they achieve economies of scale. IKEA's People Proposition is a culture of simplicity, cost consciousness, and customer focus. Employees are trained to understand the IKEA concept and deliver it consistently. Everything aligns. The strategy works because all the pieces fit together. When designing your blue ocean strategy, don't just focus on the product or service. Design the entire system. Make sure every element of your business supports your unique position. Comment below, what business do you admire most for its unique strategy? Chapter 9, Turning Strategy into Action. Ideas are easy. Execution is hard. Many companies have brilliant blue ocean ideas, but fail because they can't execute them. They get stuck in the gap between strategy and action. Kim and Malborn identified 4 organizational hurdles that block execution of blue ocean strategies. Understanding these hurdles is the first step to overcoming them. The first hurdle is the cognitive hurdle. People don't see the need for change. They're comfortable with the status quo. They think the current way of doing things is fine. They don't understand why a new strategy is necessary. When you propose a blue ocean strategy, people will resist because they can't see the problem with the old way. They're blind to the opportunities you see. To overcome this hurdle, you must wake people up to the need for change. Show them the red ocean they're swimming in. Make them see the competition, the shrinking margins, the limited growth. Make the problem visible and urgent. The second hurdle is the resource hurdle. Resources are always limited. You never have enough money, time, or people to do everything you want. And when you propose something new, people say, we don't have the resources for this. To overcome this hurdle, you must focus your resources where they'll have the biggest impact. Don't try to do everything at once. Identify the critical few actions that will create the most value and focus your resources there. Kim and Malborn call this hot spots and cold spots. Hot spots are areas where a small investment creates huge returns. Cold spots are areas where large investments create little value. Focus on the hot spots. The third hurdle is the motivational hurdle. People resist change. They're comfortable with the familiar. They're afraid of the unknown. Even if they intellectually understand the need for change, they may not be motivated to act. To overcome this hurdle, you must create visible, rapid wins. Show people that the new strategy works. Create small successes that build momentum and confidence. Make people feel part of something exciting and successful. The fourth hurdle is the political hurdle. Powerful interests may oppose your strategy. Internal politics can kill innovation. People who benefit from the status quo will fight to protect it. They'll undermine your efforts, spread doubt, and block your initiatives. To overcome this hurdle, you must build coalitions and manage resistance. Identify the key influencers in your organization. Bring them on board early. Address their concerns. Make them allies rather than enemies. Kim and Malborn recommend a process called tipping point leadership to overcome these hurdles. Instead of trying to change everything at once, focus on the factors that will have the greatest impact. Find the influencers. Concentrate your resources. Create visible wins. Build momentum. Remember, even the best blue ocean strategy is worthless if you can't execute it. Execution is everything. You must be as strategic about implementation as you are about formulation. If you're finding value in this audiobook, like the video and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Chapter 10, Developing the Blue Ocean Mindset. As we come to the end of our journey, let's talk about the most important factor of all, mindset. Blue Ocean Strategy isn't just a set of tools and frameworks. It's not just a strategy book. It's a way of thinking, a way of seeing the world, a way of approaching business and life. People with a red ocean mindset see the world as fixed. They see competition as inevitable. They see markets as limited. They see success as winning the battle. They fight for share. People with a blue ocean mindset see the world as fluid. They see opportunities everywhere. They see markets as creations. They see success as creating new value. They create new demand. The blue ocean mindset has several key elements that you can develop and nurture. First, curiosity. Blue ocean thinkers are endlessly curious. They always ask why and what if. They never accept industry assumptions as truth. They wonder why things are done a certain way. They imagine how they could be done differently. This curiosity leads them to see opportunities that others miss. While everyone else accepts the rules of the game, they question them. While everyone else follows industry norms, they wonder why those norms exist. Second, courage. It takes courage to break from the pack, to do things differently, to risk being wrong, to face criticism and skepticism. When you propose something truly new, people will doubt you. They'll say it won't work. They'll point to industry wisdom and conventional thinking. It takes courage to ignore them and pursue your vision. Third, creativity. Blue ocean thinkers are creative. They look beyond the obvious. They connect ideas from different domains. They see patterns that others miss. Creativity isn't a gift that some people have and others don't. It's a muscle that can be developed. By practicing the tools we've discussed, the strategy canvas, the 4 actions framework, the 6 paths, you can train yourself to think more creatively about business. Fourth, customer focus. Blue ocean thinkers focus on customers, not competitors. They're obsessed with understanding what customers truly value. They study non-customers to understand why they're not buying. They look for unmet needs in underserved segments. While red ocean thinkers are watching their competitors, blue ocean thinkers are watching their customers. This customer focus leads to insights that competitors never see. Fifth, persistence. Blue oceans aren't created overnight. They take time, effort, and resilience. You'll face setbacks and obstacles. You'll encounter resistance and doubt. It takes persistence to keep going, but the rewards are worth it. Creating a blue ocean means building something truly unique. It means escaping the bloody competition of the red ocean. It means growing without fighting. The good news is that this mindset can be developed. You can train yourself to think differently. You can practice seeing opportunities instead of obstacles. You can learn to ignore competitors and focus on customers. And when you do, you'll find blue oceans everywhere, not just in business, but in life, in your career, where you can find your unique niche instead of competing for promotions, in your relationships, where you can create unique connections instead of following patterns, in your personal growth, where you can chart your own path instead of following the crowd. Because ultimately, blue ocean strategy is about something deeper than business. It's about the courage to create, the wisdom to see possibilities, and the determination to make them real. If this audiobook has inspired you, subscribe to the channel for more powerful ideas. Chapter 11, Real-World Blue Ocean Success Stories. To truly understand the power of blue ocean strategy, it helps to study companies that successfully created their own blue oceans. Let's explore a few more examples in detail. Example 1, Ford Model T. When Henry Ford introduced the Model T in 1908, automobiles were luxury items for the wealthy. They were expensive, custom-built, and unreliable. The market was small and exclusive. Ford didn't try to build a better luxury car. He created something completely different. The Model T was simple, reliable, and affordable. It was designed for the masses, not the elite. Ford used innovative manufacturing techniques, the moving assembly line, to dramatically reduce costs. He offered the car in one color, black, and one model, simplifying production. This allowed him to price the Model T at a fraction of competitors' prices. The result? Ford created a massive new market of automobile owners. Between 1908 and 1927, Ford sold over 15 million Model Ts. They didn't just take customers from other car companies. They created car owners where none existed before. Example 2, Starbucks. When Starbucks started, the coffee market was dominated by cheap, low-quality coffee sold in diners and donut shops. Coffee was a commodity. Everyone offered basically the same thing. Howard Schultz transformed Starbucks into something entirely different. He created the third place, a space between home and work where people could relax, meet friends, or work alone. Starbucks offered not just coffee, but an experience. They raised the quality of coffee dramatically. They created a sophisticated atmosphere with comfortable seating and pleasant music. They trained baristas to be friendly and knowledgeable. They offered a wide variety of drinks, from simple coffee to complex espresso creations. Starbucks attracted customers who had never been coffee drinkers before. They attracted people who wanted a place to hang out, not just a caffeine fix. They created a new market, premium coffee experiences that didn't exist before. Example 3, Salesforce.com. Before Salesforce, business software was expensive, complex, and required on-premise installation. Companies had to buy servers, hire IT staff, and manage software themselves. The market was limited to large companies with big budgets. Salesforce created a blue ocean by offering software as a service over the internet. No installation required. No servers to buy. No IT staff needed. Pay a monthly subscription, and you're up and running. This opened up the software market to small and medium businesses that couldn't afford traditional software. Salesforce created a whole new category, cloud-based software, that now dominates the industry. Example 4, Yellowtail Wine. The wine industry is complex and intimidating. Wines are categorized by region, grape variety, vintage, and quality. Experts discuss tannins, body, and finish. For the average consumer, buying wine can be confusing and stressful. Yellowtail, an Australian wine company, created a blue ocean by simplifying everything. They eliminated all the complexity. They created a single brand with a simple label and a fun, approachable image. They offered 2 varieties, red and white, easy for anyone to understand. The wine itself was designed to be easy to drink, smooth, fruity, and accessible. It appealed to beer and cocktail drinkers who found wine intimidating. Yellowtail created a new market of casual wine drinkers. Within 2 years of launch, it became the fastest-growing wine brand in history and the #1 imported wine in the United States. These examples show that blue oceans can be created in any industry at any time. It doesn't require new technology or massive resources. It requires a different way of thinking about value, customers, and competition. If you're enjoying these stories, share this audiobook with someone who needs inspiration. Chapter 12. Avoiding Common Blue Ocean Traps. As powerful as blue ocean strategy is, it's not easy to execute. Many companies try to create blue oceans but fall into common traps. Understanding these traps can help you avoid them. Trap 1. Confusing innovation with value innovation. Some companies create innovative products that customers don't actually want. They focus on being different without focusing on creating value. Remember, blue ocean strategy is about value innovation, creating value for customers while reducing costs. Being different isn't enough. You must create something that customers truly value. Trap 2. Trying to be everything to everyone. Some companies try to appeal to everyone. They add features for every possible customer segment. They lose focus and end up with confused offering that satisfies no one. Blue ocean strategy requires focus. You must make clear choices about what to offer and what not to offer. You must eliminate and reduce as well as raise and create. Trap 3. Sticking with your blue ocean too long. Eventually, every blue ocean attracts imitators. Competitors see your success and copy your strategy. The blue ocean gradually becomes red. When this happens, you must be ready to create another blue ocean. Don't get stuck defending your position in a market that's becoming crowded. Keep innovating. Keep creating new value. Trap 4. Underestimating execution challenges. As we discussed earlier, execution is hard. Many companies have brilliant blue ocean ideas, but fail because they can't execute them. They don't overcome the cognitive, resource, motivational, and political hurdles. A great strategy without great execution is worthless. Pay as much attention to how you'll implement your strategy as you do to the strategy itself. Trap 5. Ignoring your existing business. If you have an existing business, you can't just abandon it to chase a blue ocean. You need to manage both simultaneously. This is challenging. Your existing business requires attention and resources. Your new initiative requires attention and resources. Balancing both is difficult but necessary. Trap 6. Expecting immediate success. Blue oceans take time to develop. You're creating something new, so it takes time for customers to discover it, understand it, and embrace it. Don't expect instant results. Be patient. Stay committed. Keep refining your offering based on customer feedback. By understanding these traps, you can navigate them successfully. You can increase your chances of creating a sustainable blue ocean. Comment below, which of these traps do you think is most dangerous? Chapter 13. The Future of Blue Ocean Thinking. As we look to the future, blue ocean thinking is more important than ever. Markets are becoming more crowded. Competition is intensifying. Technology is accelerating change. The red oceans are getting redder. In this environment, competing harder is a losing strategy. The companies that will thrive are those that can create their own blue oceans. But the nature of blue oceans is changing too. Today, blue oceans can be created faster and by smaller players. Technology has lowered barriers to entry. A single person with a laptop can create something that reaches millions. Think about YouTube creators who built massive audiences by creating content that didn't exist before. Think about app developers who created new categories of software. Think about online educators who reach students across the world. These are blue oceans created by individuals, not just large corporations. The digital age has democratized blue ocean creation. Anyone with a unique idea and the determination to execute it can create their own uncontested market space. But the digital age also means that blue oceans become red faster. When you succeed, imitators appear quickly. They copy your idea, improve on it, and compete for your customers. This means that blue ocean strategy is not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing process. You must continually create new value, find new non-customers, and break new boundaries. The companies that will dominate the future are those that institutionalize blue ocean thinking. They make it part of their culture. They train their people to think this way. They constantly look for opportunities to create new markets. Think about Apple. They didn't stop with the iPod. They created the iPhone, the iPad, the App Store, and more. They continually create new blue oceans while competitors are still trying to copy their last one. Think about Amazon. They started with books, then expanded to everything, then created AWS, then created Prime Video, then created Alexa. They're constantly moving into new blue oceans. This is the future of business. Not competing harder in existing markets, but constantly creating new ones. If you want to be part of this future, start developing your blue ocean mindset today. Chapter 14. Applying blue ocean strategy to your own life. Before we conclude, let's think about how blue ocean strategy applies beyond business. The principles we've discussed can transform your career, your relationships, and your personal growth. In your career, most people compete in a red ocean career market. They study what everyone else studies. They apply for the same jobs as everyone else. They build the same skills as everyone else. They fight for promotions against everyone else. But what if you could create your own blue ocean career? What unique combination of skills could you develop that no one else has? What niche could you serve that no one else is serving? What value could you create that others can't? By thinking this way, you can escape the crowded job market and create opportunities that are uniquely yours. In your relationships, most relationships follow familiar patterns. People play by unwritten rules. They do what's expected. They compete for attention and approval. But what if you could create blue ocean relationships? What unique ways could you show up for people? What value could you bring that no one else brings? How could you connect more deeply and authentically in your personal growth? Most people follow standard paths to self-improvement. They read the same books. They try the same techniques. They follow the same advice. But what if you could create your own blue ocean of personal growth? What unique strengths could you develop? What unconventional practices could transform your life? What path could you chart that's uniquely yours? The blue ocean mindset isn't just for business. It's for life. It's about creating value, breaking boundaries, and making competition irrelevant in every area of your existence. If this audiobook has inspired you to think differently about your life, share it with someone who needs to hear it. We've covered an enormous amount of ground together. We've explored the fundamental difference between red oceans and blue oceans. We've learned how successful companies like Cirque du Soleil, Southwest Airlines, and Nintendo created uncontested market space. We've discovered the power of value innovation and the practical tools of the strategy canvas and 4 actions framework. We've examined how to create new demand by reaching non-customers and breaking industry boundaries. We've discussed the importance of aligning value, profit, and people propositions. We've explored the challenges of execution and the traps to avoid. We've looked at real-world success stories and considered how to apply these ideas to our own lives. But the most important lesson is this. In business and in life, the biggest mistake is not failing. The biggest mistake is fighting in the same crowded ocean as everyone else, accepting the same assumptions, playing by the same rules, chasing the same goals. When you stop competing and start creating, you discover your own blue ocean. You find space where you can grow without fighting. You build something truly unique. You make a contribution that only you can make. The ideas in this audiobook are inspired by the brilliant work of W. Chan Kim and Renee Mawborn. Their book, Blue Ocean Strategy, is a masterpiece that every entrepreneur, business leader, and thoughtful person should read. It will challenge your assumptions. It will expand your thinking. It will give you tools to create value in ways you never imagined. If you enjoyed this audiobook, let us know in the comments. And if there's a book you'd like us to explore next, we'll bring its insights to you, so you can decide whether that book is worth reading. And if you'd like a deeper and more detailed audiobook on this topic, perhaps breaking each chapter into its own episode, just tell us in the comments. We're here to serve your learning journey. Remember, the ocean is vast. Don't waste your life fighting in crowded red waters. Find your blue. Create your space. Build something remarkable. Thank you for listening. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more powerful business insights. Until next time,